On this channel, you'll find some videos about love and sex.
For educational purpose, of course.
I covered so many different topics, but there's one topic that I haven't really talked about. Heartbreak. And well, that's because I haven't really experienced it. At least, not until this year. This year, everything changed. What was literally the highlight of the year, a short but fun experience with that person. For the first time, I felt a heavy weight of a broken heart. And honestly, it's nothing like I ever imagined. I mean, you hear heartbreaks in songs, you see it in movies, you read it in books, but living through it, it's a whole different story. In this video, I want to take a deep dive into what it felt like, what I've learned, and how it reshaped my views on love, relationships, and healing. Even if you've been going through it or you're going through it right now, maybe this would resonate with you. Before this, I thought heartbreak was just sadness people feel. Something that you can cry about for a while and then move on from. But to my surprise, it's not just sadness. It's more like a deep, lingering emptiness. A constant ache that follows you at random times. And it's not something that you can easily shake off. I saw this YouTube video and it said something like,
heartbreak is a kind of grief.
That sadness in your eye, there's something there. And we all have it.
Uno está como en un grief, un personal grief about whatever. That constant thinking about what happened, you know? Sometimes you don't understand, sometimes you have to let it go. And how do you cure yourself of pain day by day, day by day? I think life teaches you how to manage your emotions, right? You cannot control feelings, you know? Maybe, but then you grow up. You go to your room, you cry in the shower. Okay, cool, chilling. Doesn't matter. Don't be afraid to cry, everybody that's listening to me. Don't be afraid to cry.
And you know what's crazy? It's not just the loss of them. It's the idea of the future you thought you'd have. It's the idea of both of you being together based on the vibes that you exchanged. The plans that may never happen. So in the beginning of this, I was so confused. It was emotions I've never felt before and didn't know how to deal with it. I tried to distract myself. Work, friends, hobbies, anything to avoid that pit of emotion that I was not ready to confront. Especially for the first time. It wasn't easy. I still felt like that sunken feeling in my chest and I'm like, damn, why me? Why? Even taking walks outside. Anything to do to avoid this emotion. This thing called heartbreak forces you to sit with yourself, facing the uncomfortable truth that things may not ever be the same. And in those quiet space, when you are alone with your thoughts, something else happens. Like, what went wrong? Was it really my fault? If I had done things differently, what would that outcome would have been like? And then you start thinking about the conversations, moments, and even decisions just to make sense of all of the confusion. Why do we even do that? But that's the thing. I realized there isn't always a clear answer. Heartbreak doesn't follow a logical path. It's messy. People are messy. Relationships are messy. It may not even be messy, but rather moments you are unaware of that caused it. Even if you did everything right, things can still fall apart. It's crazy, right? That's one of the hardest lessons I had to learn. Sometimes no one is to blame. You can't want to point fingers to understand why something went wrong. Confessing your emotions, dating, relationships don't always work that way. Sometimes two people just stop being right for each other. Sometimes the moment both of you had was just that, a moment. Sometimes what you want, the other person may not. And it's no one's fault. And accepting that, it's harder than it sounds. Heartbreak, for better or worse, has a way of teaching you things that you didn't know about yourself. For me, understanding cross-cultural differences. Even though I know that in one country, people may have a different way of doing things compared to somewhere else, being more mindful if that person isn't used to your country's customs may help out a lot. Again, that's just me overthinking, and maybe that's not even the reason, but that's the only reason I could come up with, so. On a positive note, I've learned that I can be very romantic, like creatively romantic. Like, I haven't done anything like this for a girl before, so I was surprised to know that I can get like that. And I've learned that heartbreak can also pushes you to grow, even more so when you think that you are. And not the, hey, I'm gonna go flex and show you what you're missing out on, or hey, I'm just gonna level up and see if I can one-up you type shit. I started to see that healing wasn't about getting over someone. It's not a race to move on as fast as possible. Healing is like taking the time to understand yourself better. It's sitting with that pain, learning from it, and slowly, like very slowly, start to rebuild yourself. Whether it's physically, mentally, financially, you get it. And this process is different for everyone. Some people throw themselves into a new relationship. Others take their time to be alone. Just go out and do cool shit. I found myself leaning into training more, continuing my education, and more work. Oh, and speaking of work, like a few weeks later, I made my first dance debut in a music video with 2 mega Latin rappers. Ironically, the song was about heartbreak. That wasn't planned. The director asked me if I ever had my heart broken before. And I looked at him in the eye and said, yes, I have. He responded, good. Use those emotions when you dance. And so I did. And I didn't hold back. Today, I like to think that we're still cool, even though I don't think she even knows that my heart was broken. On the flip side, maybe she feel like I'm unaware that I pushed her away. You never know what the future will hold. Life is definitely unpredictable. But piece by piece, you start to put yourself back together. You start to feel that weight lift. And even if it's just by a little bit, that's when you start to realize, damn, you're stronger than you thought.